difference in life between when you focus on things that are wrong, when you focus on things that are right. And I think a lot of people have managed to achieve quite a bit of success by avoiding pitfalls. You present them with something they can say, well, that's wrong and that's going to be an issue and we need to make sure that that's sorted there. But as you've said, the things that you focus on seem to appear more frequently in your life. And if you've justified to yourself and if you've built up this habit, this stack of evidence that it's useful for me to focus on where potential pitfalls may be and make sure that I can avoid them.
Most people spend their entire lives chasing motivation, not realizing motivation has nothing to do with it. Tony Robbins has said it for decades in different ways, but the truth never changes. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your standards. That single idea explains why so many people stay stuck while claiming they want more. Your standards are what you accept on your worst days, not what you say you want, not what you post online, not what you promise yourself at midnight. Standards decide how you act when you're tired, frustrated, distracted, or uncomfortable. And most people have standards that are quietly sabotaging them. They tolerate inconsistency, they tolerate excuses, they tolerate disrespect from others and from themselves. Then they wonder why nothing changes. The moment you decide this behavior is no longer acceptable, your identity begins to shift. You stop negotiating with weakness, you stop asking how you feel and start acting based on what you demand of yourself. That's why standards are uncomfortable. They force you to confront who you've been settling for. Tony Robbins didn't build his life on comfort. He built it on intensity, expectation, and absolute responsibility. He understood something most people avoid. If you want a different life, you must demand different behavior. Consistently. Not someday. Not when you're motivated. Now. Most people wait for confidence before they raise their standards. That's a mistake. Confidence is the result of standards enforced over time. You don't feel strong first. You act strong until it becomes who you are. That's how identity is built. The truth is simple and brutal. Your current results are perfectly matched to your current standards. If you want better results, raise the floor of what you allow. If you want growth, remove what drains you. If you want to level up, stop tolerating habits that keep you small. This is where the shift begins. Not with motivation, with standards.
If you don't work out, you don't get a muscle, right? So I always tell people there's a daily practice like priming. If you don't do that, if you get up and you just have no discipline whatsoever, you get no value of anything. Diets don't work when you don't do them. Exercise doesn't work when you don't do them. But most of the people have some experiences that they want to shift. And once you shift those things, your whole life changes. But life is constant growth. My life isn't here because I went to one seminar one time and now my life is fit for life. I work out, I train my mind, I train my body, and it becomes a lifestyle.
Tony Robbins has always been clear about one thing most people ignore. Your standards collapse the moment your emotional state collapses. You can have the right goals, the right plan, even the right discipline, but if you can't control how you feel under pressure, you will default to old habits every time. This is where standards are either protected or destroyed. Most people let emotions run their lives. If they feel tired, they rest. If they feel overwhelmed, they quit. If they feel discouraged, they lower expectations. That's not life happening to them. That's a lack of state control. And without state control, high standards are impossible to maintain. Tony teaches that emotion is not random. It's driven by focus, physiology, and meaning. Change your posture, your breathing, your focus, and you change your state. When your state changes, your standards follow. This is why elite performers don't wait to feel like it. They move first. Action reshapes emotion, not the other way around. High standards demand emotional discipline. You don't allow frustration to dictate behavior. You don't allow stress to lower effort. You don't allow fear to negotiate your values. Instead, you train yourself to respond deliberately. You interrupt weak emotional patterns before they become decisions. You don't spiral, you reset. This is what separates people who sustain growth from those who burn out. Tony Robbins built his entire philosophy around this truth. Standards are enforced moment by moment, not during big speeches, not during perfect days, but in small, uncomfortable moments, when it would be easier to give less than your best. Most people raise their standards mentally but not emotionally. They say, "I want more," yet they still react the same way to pressure, rejection, and fatigue. That contradiction keeps them stuck. Raising standards means upgrading how you handle discomfort. When you control your state, you stop being a victim of mood. You become deliberate. You decide how you show up regardless of circumstances. That's power. That's stability. That's why Tony's message works, because it's not inspiration, it's control. Standards don't survive chaos unless you do.
I have one goal for you. If you guys want to become rich, if you guys want to become multimillionaires, you don't have to quit your job and go find a new one. You got to do your job now differently. You got to do life differently. What you're doing now has gotten you what you've got. That's why we're in here learning today. Does that make sense?
At some point, raising your standards stops being about mindset and becomes about brutal honesty. Tony Robbins has always emphasized this. Progress begins the moment you stop lying to yourself. Most people don't need more information. They need to stop negotiating with the version of themselves that wants comfort over growth. Every time you say just this once, you're setting a standard. Every excuse you allow becomes permission to repeat it. Every compromise you make with discipline lowers the bar. Andy Elliott's message hits hard because it removes the escape routes. Complaining doesn't move you forward. Explaining doesn't build strength. Whining doesn't change outcomes. It only reinforces weakness. High standards mean you don't allow yourself to stay in those patterns, even when they feel justified. Tony Robbins teaches that your standards are shaped by what you link pain and pleasure to. If you associate discipline with pain and comfort with pleasure, you'll always choose the wrong path. Raising standards means flipping that association. Discomfort becomes growth. Excuses become embarrassing. Mediocrity becomes unacceptable. This is where transformation accelerates. You stop asking, "What's the minimum I can do?" You start asking, "What does excellence demand right now?" High standards don't require perfection. They require consistency. You show up even when the effort feels invisible. You keep promises to yourself even when no one else is involved. That's how self-respect is built. And self-respect is the foundation of confidence. Most people wait for life to force them to change. People with high standards force the change themselves. They don't wait for pain to become unbearable. They don't wait for regret to accumulate. They act early, decisively. The moment you raise your standards, resistance shows up. Old habits fight back. Comfort tries to pull you down. People around you test your resolve. That's normal. Standards are not meant to be easy. They're meant to be enforced. And once you enforce them long enough, something powerful happens. You stop needing motivation. You become disciplined by default. At the end of the day, this is what it comes down to. Your standards decide your future, not your intentions, not your intelligence, not your circumstances. Standards are the rules you live by when no one is watching, and those rules quietly shape everything you become. Most people don't consciously choose low standards. They drift into them, one excuse at a time, one compromise at a time, one "I'll do it tomorrow" at a time. And before they realize it, their life reflects exactly what they've been tolerating. Raising your standards means drawing a hard line. You stop accepting effort that doesn't match your potential. You stop staying in environments that drain you. You stop making excuses for habits you know are holding you back. Tony Robbins has said it in different forms for years, but the principle is simple. Change happens the moment your standards become non-negotiable. When you decide that certain behaviors are no longer allowed. Not sometimes, not most days, but ever. Everything shifts. Your focus sharpens. Your discipline stabilizes. Your confidence grows quietly, but permanently. High standards don't make life easier. They make you stronger. You won't always feel motivated. You won't always feel confident. But when your standards are clear, feelings stop running the show. You act because that's who you've decided to be. And over time, that identity compounds. This is the truth most people avoid. If you don't raise your standards, nothing changes. And if nothing changes, the future stays exactly the same. So demand more from yourself, not out of hate, but out of respect. Not to impress others, but to honor your potential. Because the moment you raise your standards, life has no choice but to rise with you.